There's a new car in the driveway. Sleek. Black. Government plated. Souta doesn't need to ask who it belongs to. His father's been talking about hiring new personal security ever since the last leak. Threats. A near scandal. The usual political tension wrapped in polite smiles and sharp knives. But he wasn't expecting him. The man standing in the foyer wears a suit so sharp it looks like it could draw blood. His hair is military short, black as coal, and his eyes, those eyes don't move. They scan. Not like he's curious. Like he's assessing. Weighing, calculating how much damage Souta could do if left unchecked. His name is Itsuki, his father says with a clap on the back. Ex-defense intel. He'll be shadowing you until further notice. Souta raises an eyebrow. Shadowing me? His father doesn't even glance over. Until the press dies down, you're a liability. It's not cruel. It's just a statement of fact. Like everything else his father says. That night, Souta tries to ignore the footsteps outside his room. They're soft. Precise. Measured. He gets up, opens the door, and there he is. Itsuki, standing perfectly still at the end of the hallway like he's been carved into the shadows. You don't have to do that, Souta says. Itsuki's voice is deep, low, unreadable. It's my job. You're not my babysitter. No. I'm your shield. Souta lets out a breathless laugh. Poetic. What happens when the threat comes from inside this house? Itsuki's eyes flicker. For just a second. I'd still take the bullet, he says. Later that week, it starts. Not the words. Not yet. Just the way Itsuki looks at him when no one's watching. Not professionally. Not politely. But like he's memorizing him, like Souta is the threat now. Or the temptation. You looked different tonight, Itsuki murmurs from behind him, as Souta turns to shut his bedroom door. Souta pauses. Different how? Itsuki's voice drops. Like you wanted me to cross the line. The first time Souta tests him, it's small. Barely a twitch in the fabric of their routine. He leaves the door half open when he changes clothes. Just to see. Just to know if the man stationed outside his room is really as unshakable as he looks. He isn't. Itsuki doesn't enter. But Souta sees the flicker of movement, a slow turn of the head, just enough to catch the mirror's edge through the crack. He says nothing. Souta says nothing. But the air between them changes after that. The second time, it's deliberate. Souta skips a press meeting. He knows exactly what will happen. The calls, his father's fury. The damage control. He waits outside on the rooftop terrace, legs kicked up, tie undone, knowing Itsuki will find him before anyone else. And he does. Calm. Controlled. But with a jaw so tight it might crack. I'm not one of your father's soldiers, Souta says, not looking at him. You don't have to follow me around like I'll set the building on fire. You wouldn't, Itsuki replies coolly. You like to watch it burn slowly. Souta turns then, slowly, sharply. And you think you know me that well? I know how men like you act when they've never been told no. Silence coils around them like smoke. And then Souta steps closer. Just a little. You going to tell me no, Bodyguard-san? Itsuki doesn't flinch. But his voice drops low, dangerously low. If I did, he says, you'd make me say it again. And again. Until I broke first. That night, the door is closed. Itsuki doesn't stand outside it. He stands inside. Arms crossed. Eyes fixed. Waiting in the dark like a shadow the hallway forgot. What are you doing here? Souta asks. I told you, Itsuki says quietly. I'm your shield. And what if I'm the one you need shielding from? Itsuki doesn't answer. He takes one slow step forward. Then another. Until there's barely a breath between them. Until Souta can feel the tension vibrating between two people who shouldn't touch. But might. Your father would kill you, Souta whispers. Itsuki's hand lifts, just barely, and brushes his jaw like a secret. No, he says. He'd kill me. But you'd watch him do it. And you'd still come back to me after. The day starts like any other, with tension simmering quietly beneath polished marble floors and carefully curated silence. But by noon, everything changes. Souta hears it from the maid first. There was a break-in. Not here. Your father's downtown office. No one hurt, but they left a message. No one will tell him what it said. But suddenly there are more guards in the halls. New faces. Tighter security. And Itsuki? Gone. No explanation. No warning. Souta waits. 1 day. 2. On the 3rd day, he finds his father in the study. You reassigned him, Souta says, voice tight. I did, his father replies, without looking up. He got too close. Souta's stomach twists. To what? To you. That night, the mansion feels colder. And the silence? Louder. It's past midnight when he hears it. A soft knock, once. Then twice. Then a pause. Souta swings open the door. And finds Itsuki there. But something's different. His suit is rumpled. His cheek is bruised. His knuckles are split. He's breathing hard, eyes wild with something that doesn't fit him, fear. You're not safe, Itsuki says flatly, stepping inside and locking the door behind him. Souta stares. What are you talking about? I intercepted a call. They're not just targeting your father anymore. You're leverage now. Souta's mind spins. His father's enemies. Hidden threats. And now, him. As bait? I'm getting you out of here, Itsuki says, already stripping his blazer off and tossing it aside. They won't expect you to leave tonight. You're going to kidnap me? Souta says, half laughing, half panicking. Itsuki's voice darkens. No. I'm going to save you. Whether you want me to or not. Itsuki reaches for him, gripping the back of Souta's neck, firm but not cruel. You don't understand, do you? He murmurs. Souta's breath catches. Itsuki leans in close, eyes blazing. They won't just threaten you, Souta. They'll use you. Break you. And if I don't get you out tonight, your father might just let them. The escape wasn't cinematic. It was quiet. Too quiet. No alarms. No sirens. Just the echo of shoes on marble and the weight of everything they weren't saying. Souta followed Itsuki through a narrow hallway he didn't even know existed, between the kitchen and the old wine cellar. Why do you know parts of this house I don't? Souta asked, breathless. Itsuki glanced back once, eyes sharp. Because while you were sleeping in silk sheets, I was planning how to get you out of them alive. The car they slipped into wasn't the usual polished black sedan. It was an old motorcycle parked 2 blocks down, buried under a tarp. No helmet? Souta asked, climbing on behind him. Itsuki's reply was dry. You're lucky I didn't throw you over my shoulder and run. The city blurred around them, neon signs, red lights, rain streaks on metal and glass. It was raining again, of course. Like the sky knew something bad was coming. They didn't speak for a long time. Souta's hands clutched at Itsuki's waist, not for balance, but to remind himself this wasn't a nightmare. This was happening. They stopped at a safe house. Not luxury. Not comfort. Just 4 gray walls and a mattress on the floor. Is this where you take all your clients? Souta asked, voice edged with something unsteady. Itsuki turned away. No. Souta watched the tension in his shoulders and asked softly, then why me? Itsuki didn't move. Didn't blink. You're not just a job anymore. He took off his soaked jacket, revealing the bruises. Deeper than before. Raw. Souta's breath caught. Who did that to you? Itsuki looked away. Your father's men. The words hit like a slap. My father? He knows about us. Or thinks he does. A beat. He didn't want to risk it turning into truth. I thought the danger was from strangers, Souta said, voice low. But it was always him, wasn't it? A long silence stretched between them. One thick with too many things left unsaid. Then Souta stepped closer. Why are you really doing this? I told you. No. Not the duty answer. The real one. Itsuki's voice was a whisper now. Because you're the only thing I wanted that I was never allowed to touch. Then touch me now, Souta whispered. No guards. No father. No rules. Itsuki stepped forward, but didn't close the gap. He lifted his hand, paused halfway between them, trembling like he was breaking every law he'd lived by. You'll hate me if I do this, he murmured. I'll hate you if you don't, Souta breathed back. The power went out. Total blackness. And then. A knock at the door. Just once. Then again. Then silence. Itsuki's voice dropped to a growl. They found us. The knock echoed like a countdown. Once. Then silence. Then a soft metallic click. Itsuki grabbed Souta's wrist and yanked him back. There's a tunnel, he hissed. Behind the water heater. Go. Now. But Souta didn't move. You said no one knew about this place. I said no one should have. Then someone betrayed you, Souta whispered. Someone close. The door burst open. A flash of boots. A shout. Gunmetal and footsteps flooded the hallway as Souta stumbled down the tunnel, Itsuki behind him, covering every angle, his voice a harsh whisper of commands. Left. Keep low. Don't stop, no matter what. A shot rang out, too close. Itsuki spun, fired once. Silence. The tunnel opened into an alley. Rain falling hard now, soaking their clothes, the night blurring with adrenaline. They ducked into a car that had no plates, parked behind a ramen shop. Only once the doors locked did they breathe again. I counted 5, Itsuki said. Maybe 6. Souta pressed his forehead to the window, eyes wide. How many of them were your people? Itsuki didn't answer. I don't know who to trust anymore, Souta said, almost to himself. Then trust me, Itsuki snapped, even if it kills me. They drove in silence, hearts still racing. The new safe house was in the countryside, quiet, isolated, surrounded by dense woods. Itsuki moved quickly, sweeping every corner, gun drawn, shadows shifting behind him. When they finally locked the doors and closed the curtains, Souta slumped into a chair. You still haven't told me everything. I didn't want to involve you. You already involved me, Itsuki. I'm hunted. My father hates you. And I. He cut himself off. But Itsuki already knew. He sat across from him. Quiet. Tormented. I joined your father's staff for a reason, Itsuki said. I wasn't just assigned. I requested the job. Souta froze. Why? Because the first time I saw you, you weren't a politician's son. You were a boy stuck in a house that didn't love him. And I. You what? Souta whispered. I wanted to protect you from the people closest to you. Even if one of them was your own father. Souta's voice broke. You should have told me. I couldn't. Not without becoming one of the people you'd have to run from. Their eyes locked in the dim lamplight, tension thick between fear and longing, restraint and ache. Souta stood. Walked to him slowly. "If you're going to keep protecting me," he said quietly, "you can't keep pretending you don't want me." Itsuki stood too, but before he could speak, his phone buzzed. A message. He glanced at it. His face drained. He held the screen up for Souta to see. A photo. Souta. Sleeping. From inside the safe house. "We're not alone," Itsuki said. "Someone got here before us." The photo still glowed on Itsuki's phone screen, Souta's sleeping face, the timestamp from just a few hours ago. The implication hit them both at once. Someone had been inside the house. Close enough to watch. Close enough to breathe the same air. "We can't stay here," Itsuki said, already moving, checking the windows, loading the weapon. But Souta didn't move. He stood frozen in the middle of the room, arms wrapped around himself like he could hold his own bones together. "You said this was safe," he whispered. "You promised." Itsuki paused, chest heaving. "I know. You said you'd protect me." "I will." "Then why do I feel like I'm going to die?" Itsuki stopped. He turned. And in that moment, all the professionalism, the soldier, the walls, it all cracked. He crossed the space in 3 long steps and cupped Souta's face in his palms, firm but not rough. "Because you're scared," he said quietly. "And because I've been trained to save lives, not hearts. I don't know how to do both." Souta's voice trembled. "You already have. You just won't let yourself admit it." Silence. And then, Itsuki broke. His mouth was on Souta's before either of them had time to think. No precision. No strategy. Just pure instinct. A crush of lips. A bite of heat. Years of control crumbling in seconds. Souta gasped into him, fists curling into his shirt, pulling him closer, closer still. "Don't stop," he whispered between kisses. "Don't think. Just, feel me." Itsuki pressed him back against the wall, one hand slipping beneath his shirt, fingers ghosting over his ribs like a man memorizing something he knew would be taken from him. "I shouldn't," Itsuki murmured against his neck, voice ragged. "I can't afford to want you." "But you do," Souta replied, tugging his face back down to meet his eyes. "So want me. Here. Now. Before the world finds us again." Clothes shifted. Skin against skin. It wasn't gentle, it was desperate. Souta arched into him as Itsuki's hands finally lost their hesitation. Heat bloomed where touch met skin. 1,000 silent confessions spilled from fingertips alone. It wasn't sex. Not yet. But it was everything more than that. A claim. A surrender. A warning. "What happens tomorrow?" Souta asked, voice breaking as he pressed his forehead to Itsuki's. "I don't know," Itsuki whispered. "But tonight, you're mine. And I swear to God, I'll kill whoever tries to take you from me again." A sharp buzz interrupted the silence. Itsuki's phone lit up again. Another photo. This time, a note held up to the camera. "You have 24 hours to return the boy, or we start with his mother." The photo still sat between them. Itsuki hadn't looked away from it. Not once. Souta, though, couldn't stop staring at him. The man who'd touched him like he was the only living thing left in a dying world, was back in control. Almost. His body was still tense. Fingers trembling ever so slightly as they hovered near the gun. But Souta could feel it, the shift. The electricity that now hummed between them wasn't just danger. It was the weight of what they'd done. What they were. And neither of them could unfeel it. "You kissed me like it meant something," Souta said quietly, wrapping the blanket tighter around his bare chest. "It did," Itsuki replied without hesitation. "That's the problem." Itsuki stood near the window, scanning the shadows, his tone flat. They threatened your mother. That changes everything. I haven't seen her in years. That doesn't mean they won't use her. Souta watched him, jaw clenched, eyes calculating, voice emotionless. Just like before. Except now, Souta had felt what was beneath that armor. The shaking hands. The hunger. The need. You're doing it again, Souta said, pretending none of this got to you. Itsuki didn't answer. Pretending that touching me didn't mean anything. That you can go back to being my shadow, not the man who. His voice caught. Held me like I was the only thing keeping you breathing. Itsuki turned sharply. You are the only thing, he said, voice like cracked glass. That's why I can't afford to want you. Souta stepped forward. Then don't want me, he whispered. Need me. The words hit like a blade. Itsuki's expression shattered, if only for a second. You don't know what you're asking. I do, Souta said, stepping into his space. You think this makes me weak? No. What happened between us, that's the only part of me that felt real. I've spent my whole life in a house full of people who looked at me like I was a problem, Souta whispered. And then you touched me like I was a prayer. Itsuki's breath hitched. He looked like a man fighting a war inside himself. Not with a gun. But with a heart that had started to disobey orders. The silence cracked again, this time by Itsuki's phone lighting up. A second message. Just coordinates. A location. And 3 words beneath it, one chance. No lies. Itsuki stared at it, then back at Souta. They want a meeting, he said. They'll expect me. Not us. You're not leaving me behind. You'd be safer. I won't be, Souta interrupted. Not after what just happened. Not after what they know. You said I'm not just a job anymore, Souta whispered. So don't treat me like one. Itsuki hesitated. Then nodded once. You stay with me. You don't speak. You don't blink unless I say so. Souta smirked, but it was faint. Hollow. Not even blink. Itsuki stepped forward, gripping the side of his face, not roughly this time, but with reverence. If you blink, he murmured, you might miss how far I'm willing to go for you. They reached the location by midnight. An old train yard empty. Except it wasn't. As they stepped into the open warehouse, a figure emerged from the shadows. Not a stranger. Souta's mother. And she was holding a gun. The moment Souta saw her, really saw her, he forgot how to breathe. She was thinner than he remembered. Her once elegant posture was sharper now, like a blade honed from surviving too long in the dark. But her eyes? Cold. Familiar. Familiar in the way wounds remember their maker. Hello, Souta, she said, gun steady in both hands. Itsuki stepped in front of him instantly, his hand inching toward his own weapon. I wouldn't, she warned. Not unless you want your boy to watch you bleed. You're not going to shoot me, Souta said quietly. You would have done it already. Her mouth twitched. You always did get that smug confidence from your father. No, Souta said, stepping out from behind Itsuki. I got it from watching everyone try to survive him. She laughed, bitter, hollow. He told you I left, didn't he? That I abandoned you. You did. No. I ran, before he could use me the way he's using you now. The room shifted. Air felt thin. Souta's mind reeled, but Itsuki's hand was steady on his arm, grounding him. A silent I'm here he didn't say out loud. What do you want? Itsuki asked sharply. Her eyes flicked to him. You're not just his bodyguard anymore, are you? She lowered the gun. Slowly. I'm not here to kill him, she said. I'm here to free him. From your father. From all of this. They sat in silence inside the warehouse. A storm roared outside, matching the one in Souta's chest. His mother explained everything, the arranged marriage, the secrets, the threats. How she had loved him, once. How she had tried to stay. Until she found out what his father was really building. He doesn't want to protect you, she said. He wants to turn you into him. Later, in the motel room Itsuki found on the outskirts of town, Souta collapsed. Not from fear. From everything. He sat on the bed in silence, staring at the wall. Motionless. Hollow. Itsuki knelt in front of him, voice low. Careful. You're in shock. No, Souta said flatly. I'm in pieces. A pause. If I break, he whispered, will you still want me? Itsuki didn't answer with words. He sat beside him and pulled him in, hand cradling the back of his head like something fragile. You think I only wanted you when you were perfect, he murmured. I fell for you when you were a storm. Their kiss that night wasn't rough. It was slow. Shaking. Honest. Souta gripped his shirt like he was afraid he'd disappear. Like if he let go, nothing would be real anymore. Itsuki kissed him with the patience of a man who had nothing left to protect but the person in his arms. And when they undressed, it wasn't for escape or heat or adrenaline. It was for closeness. For truth. For a home neither of them had ever really known. A single shot rang out. Not from the guards. Not from Itsuki. But from his mother. Gun in hand pointed directly at his father. The bullet hit the room erupted. And the last thing Souta saw before being tackled to the ground was his mother's expression. Not grief, not horror, but peace. The gunshot still rang in his ears long after the screaming started. Souta hit the floor with a rough grunt, chest to concrete, as Itsuki shielded him from the blast radius. Boots thundered past. More shots followed. But all he could see, through the gap between Itsuki's arm and the floor, was his mother standing over his father's bleeding body. Still holding the gun. Still calm. When the chaos cleared, the only sounds were dripping blood, and rain from the shattered skylight above. Itsuki pushed off him, breathing hard. You okay? Souta nodded, though he wasn't sure it was true. He sat up slowly, hands shaking. His father lay a few meters away, alive, but unconscious, blood soaking through his suit. And his mother? She was just standing there. Gun lowered. Expression unreadable. He was never going to let you go, she said softly. You were never meant to be free. Not you. Not me. Later, in a stolen car far from the warehouse, Souta stared at the woman sitting beside him in the back seat. She looked out the window like it was easier than looking at her son. You planned this, he said flatly. Didn't you? I planned to survive. You used me. I chose you. You don't get to say that, Souta said, voice breaking. Not after leaving. Not after lying. Her voice cracked. You think I wanted this? You think I didn't die every time I saw what he turned you into? Then why wait so long? Her answer was a whisper. Because I thought you'd be safer without me. Until I saw the way he looked at you when you started becoming him. Souta leaned back, head against the window. Silent. Itsuki drove with one hand. The other rested lightly on Souta's knee. That was all it took. That small touch, solid, steady, warm, made something inside him break. Not out of fear. But out of the need to be held together. That night, in a safe house with creaking floors and one broken lamp, they lay in bed again, but nothing was the same. No urgency. Just quiet, ragged breaths. Itsuki touched him like he was afraid he might fall apart again. But Souta surprised him. He leaned in first. Kissed him slow. Tasted grief, salt, steel. I can't undo any of it, he whispered. But I'm still here. With you. Itsuki exhaled shakily. You shouldn't be. I know. Souta pressed their foreheads together. But I'm yours anyway. Itsuki's phone buzzed. One final message from a private channel he thought was wiped. Encrypted. Only one sentence. Your mission is complete. Eliminate the boy. Itsuki didn't say anything when the message came in. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then quietly slipped the phone back into his jacket pocket. Like nothing happened. But Souta saw it. He saw the flicker of change in his face. And worse, he saw the fear he tried to hide. Later, when Itsuki went to take a call outside, Souta did something he hadn't done in weeks. He searched his bag. His fingers brushed cold steel. A suppressed handgun. Polished. Loaded. Familiar, but not the one he usually carried. This wasn't for defense. This was for execution. What are you not telling me? Souta asked when Itsuki came back, voice low and shaking. Itsuki paused. Just for a second. But it was enough. Nothing that matters. That's not a no. They didn't speak for the rest of the night. Itsuki kept his distance. Souta kept his eyes on the door. Sleep didn't come. Instead, questions did. Crawling through Souta's mind like vines through cracked concrete. What if the orders had never stopped? What if all of this, everything, was just the long, cruel setup to break him? Was I ever yours? Souta whispered aloud in the dark. He didn't expect a reply, but Itsuki's voice answered, soft and tired. More than I was ever allowed to admit. The next morning, they received news. His father was alive. Barely. And already speaking to someone in the chain of command. Someone powerful enough to reactivate old missions. Someone who once gave Itsuki his first orders. And this time, those orders were simple: tie up loose ends. The boy dies. If they gave you the order, Souta said slowly, would you do it? Itsuki didn't speak. Didn't blink. That silence was louder than a gunshot. I need air, Souta said, grabbing his coat and walking outside before he shattered completely. He didn't expect to cry. But he did. Not for his father. Not for his mother. But for the one person he thought might choose him over the world, and might not. He didn't hear the man behind him. Didn't see the syringe. Didn't have time to scream. Black. Everything went black. Souta's eyes blinked open hours later, tied to a chair. Same warehouse. Same cold metal. Same figure walking out of the shadows. Itsuki. Gun in hand. Eyes dark. Expression unreadable. And then. You were never the mission, he said softly. But I have to finish it anyway. The metal chair was cold beneath Souta's skin. His wrists were bound. His mouth was dry. But it was the look in Itsuki's eyes that hurt most. Not anger. Not hesitation. But something worse, resignation. Like a man already mourning what he hadn't done yet. You said I was never the mission, Souta rasped. You weren't, Itsuki whispered. But they don't know that. He raised the gun. Pointed it squarely at Souta's chest. Souta stared at him, unblinking. If this is how it ends, he said, voice raw, I'm glad it's your finger on the trigger. The silence between them pulsed like a heartbeat. Then. Itsuki fired. But the bullet never reached him. Because it wasn't real. A blank. Smoke. Sound. No death. Souta flinched. Eyes wide. Heart racing. What? Itsuki lowered the weapon. Voice flat. Loud enough for the listening ears in the shadows. Target down. Clean shot. Confirm mission complete. Then he stepped forward. And cut the rope. Get up, he muttered under his breath. We have 10 seconds before they realize I lied. Souta stared at him. You lied to them? I've been lying for weeks. Then why point the gun at me? Souta hissed. Because the only way to protect you was to make them believe I'd stopped loving you. They ran. Through a side exit Itsuki had prepared days ago. Down rusted staircases, through rotting hallways, through memories of fear and pain and everything that tried to break them. Shots rang out behind them. Not blanks this time. But Itsuki was faster, deadlier. And this time, he wasn't following orders. He was breaking them. They made it to the car, breathless. Souta collapsed into the passenger seat, still trembling. You almost killed me, he said, voice hoarse. I know. You made me believe it. I had to. You broke me. Itsuki looked at him. No. I made them believe I broke you. But you were never broken. You were just finally, real. The car sped away. The city behind them burned in silence. But inside the car, inside their quiet, something new had formed. Not safety. Not peace, but a kind of truth only people who had almost destroyed each other could understand. As they crossed the bridge out of the city, Souta reached into the glove compartment for a map. But instead, he found a sealed file marked, Souta, Project Air. Inside, medical records. Psychological profiles. Behavioral tracking. All signed by his father. And dated back to before he turned 10 years old. Souta sat in the car, the file open on his lap. Each page was a blow. Clinical cold calculated. His sleep cycles had been tracked since childhood. Emotional triggers recorded. Behavioral responses mapped and tested. His education, his relationships, even his illnesses, orchestrated. Your father didn't raise you, Itsuki said quietly. He designed you. I thought he just wanted to control me, Souta whispered. But he wanted to create me. The file ended with a signature. Itsuki's. Not from now. From years ago. A field report. Dated before they ever met. Subject shows predictable emotional patterns. Vulnerability exploitable under pressure. Souta couldn't breathe. You knew me before I knew you, he said numbly. Before you were ever assigned. Itsuki flinched. Yes. Was any of it real? Souta asked, voice breaking. Every kiss, Itsuki said. Every time I held you like you were the last thing in the world worth saving. That was real. Even when I didn't want it to be. The final mission was clear now, if his father couldn't control Souta, he'd eliminate him. But Souta wasn't a pawn anymore. He was awake. And angry. They made contact with his mother in hiding. She was the one who gave them the location of the private facility. That's where he keeps what's left of his legacy, she said. Files. Tech triggers. And plans to replace you if he fails. Souta stared at her. You knew this. All along. I tried to run. You watched him build me. I watched him ruin you, she whispered. And I hated him for it. But I never stopped hoping you'd find a way to fight back. They arrive at the facility deep in the woods. Guards. Armed drones. Biometric locks. But that's not what stops Souta. It's the sight of a boy, his age. Same build. Same hair. Standing in the garden, perfectly still. A replacement. He cloned me. Souta whispered. Itsuki's voice dropped. No. He raised another version. One who never disobeyed. The other boy didn't blink. He stood still in the courtyard of the compound, eyes blank, posture perfect, every movement measured like a trained soldier. Souta froze. He wasn't looking at a stranger. He was looking at what he could have been, if he'd never questioned, never disobeyed, never loved. He doesn't even flinch, Souta whispered. He's not a person. He's a program. Itsuki stepped closer. He's what your father wanted. A legacy without resistance. He's me, Souta said. No, Itsuki replied. You are what your father feared. A legacy with a heart. They slipped through the perimeter as the sun set. Security was high, but not expecting them from the inside. Souta's mother had given them blueprints. Hidden access routes. But even with all that, the moment Souta stepped into the inner core of the facility, he felt it. Memories. Sounds. Echoes of childhood surgeries, locked rooms, surveillance. It wasn't just a lab. It was his first prison. They reached the server room. Inside, files. Test logs. Backup profiles. Contingency folders with names, his name, listed under, prototype unstable. Recommend termination. And below that, secondary unit activated. He was going to erase me, Souta said quietly. Just delete me and install a cleaner version. Footsteps echoed outside. Itsuki moved toward the door, but it wasn't the guards. It was him. The other boy. Same face. Same eyes. But no soul behind them. I know you, the boy said calmly. Souta stared. Do you know what you are? I am what you failed to be, the boy said. Loyal. Complete. Useful. No, Souta said, stepping forward. You're what I escaped being. The boy raised a weapon. You've been declared obsolete. Then shoot me, Souta whispered, and become your father's perfect son. Just remember, he replaces things when they stop obeying. A pause. For the first time, the boy's hand trembled. A crack. A flicker of thought. Doubt. Itsuki moved. Quick. Disarmed the boy. Knocked him out cleanly, no blood. But Souta caught it, the hesitation in his twin's eyes. There was still something inside him. Still someone buried under layers of obedience. He doesn't have to die, Souta said. He never got a choice. They planted explosives in the lower levels of the facility. Time was running out. The guards had discovered the breach. We have 10 minutes to get out, Itsuki said, voice clipped. And what happens when my father finds us again? Souta asked. Itsuki looked at him then. Full of something raw. Then we run again. But this time, we don't run alone. Just before leaving, Souta turned to look at the unconscious boy again. Then, without telling Itsuki, he dragged him into the escape tunnel too. I won't leave behind someone who was never given the chance to be free. As the facility exploded behind them, Souta didn't look back. The compound was gone. Ash and metal. Shattered glass and fire licking the trees. But the boy, the one who looked just like Souta, breathed quietly beside him in the back seat. He hadn't spoken once. Not since they dragged him out. Not since they gave him clean clothes, water, a name. Run. Souta had given it to him. Because even something that looks like you, he said, deserves the right to become someone else. Itsuki had driven them deep into the countryside, no signals, no cameras. Just woods and mist and a silence that left too much space for truth. They rented a quiet house. Wooden floors. A broken clock. 2 beds. 3 people trying to figure out what the hell they were now, / Do you trust me again? Itsuki asked one night, sitting beside Souta on the porch. Souta looked out at the fog. You pointed a gun at me, he said softly. To save you. I know. Souta paused. Then, I still wake up feeling it against my chest. Itsuki reached for him, but didn't touch. Not yet. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said. Just a future that lets me earn it. Inside, Ren finally spoke. Just once. He looked at Souta with wide, quiet eyes. Do I feel things wrong? He asked. No, Souta said gently. You feel things the way you were taught not to. They cooked together that night. Badly. The rice burned. The vegetables were soft. But it was the first dinner not designed by someone else's orders. And for once, Souta laughed. Really laughed. Itsuki was at the window in an instant. Gun in hand. But no guards. No army. Just a box. No return address. Inside it. A phone. It rang the second he picked it up. Souta answered. Still pretending you're free, his father's voice said. Still pretending you're in control. Souta snapped back. You can destroy a lab, the man said calmly, but not the part of you that belongs to me. The line cut. On the screen, just coordinates. And one final message, return. Alone. Or I burn everything you love. Souta turned to Itsuki. He wants me to come alone. Itsuki shook his head. You're not going. But Ren stood up from the corner. Eyes steady. Voice quiet. Then let me go. He won't know it's not you. He made me to fool everyone, even him. Souta's heart dropped. That's suicide. No, Ren said. It's the first choice I've ever made on my own. They argued for hours. Itsuki refused to let Souta go. Ren insisted he go instead. Souta said no one else would bleed for him again. But in the end, they went together. Not as weapons. Not as pawns. Not as father's sons. But as each other's choice. The compound was smaller than expected. No guards. No drones. Just a single building. Quiet. Waiting. Inside, his father. Sitting alone. A single pistol beside him. Files spread across the table like offerings. And when Souta stepped inside, his father didn't even flinch. I knew you'd come, the man said calmly. You're still mine. No, Souta replied. I'm finally not. He walked closer. His father gestured to the seat across from him. You burned my legacy, he said. But you'll never erase the fact that everything strong in you came from me. You're wrong, Souta said. Everything strong in me survived you. Ren stood silently by the door. Watching. And Itsuki? He entered last, gun raised, aimed, no hesitation. You want him back? Itsuki said coldly. You'll have to take him from me. His father laughed. Do you think I'm afraid to die? No, Souta said. But I think you're terrified of being forgotten. And then, he dropped a match. Literally. One final set of files. Drenched in lighter fluid. The last remaining record of his father's program. The flames erupted across the desk. Souta didn't flinch. You raised me in fear, he said. But I'm walking out in fire. His father lunged, reaching for the gun. Ren stepped forward, intercepting. They struggled, two copies of the same boy. But only one of them had ever known freedom. Ren twisted the gun from his hands. And didn't pull the trigger. I'm not you, he said. I'll never be. Itsuki threw Souta back as the fire spread. They ran. Smoke. Sirens. Heat. They left his father behind, not dead. But undone. Surrounded by the ruins of everything he tried to control. Weeks later. The cabin was quiet again. But this time, not haunted. Itsuki stood in the doorway with coffee. Souta curled beneath a blanket, Ren reading near the window. You know what I realized? Souta asked. What? Itsuki murmured. My father made me. But you loved me. And love rewrote everything he planned. They kissed in the doorway. Soft. Deep. No longer stolen. No longer forbidden. And for the first time, Souta didn't flinch when someone touched him like he mattered. So, what now? Ren asked from the window, glancing up. Souta smiled. Now, he said. We live the life none of us were supposed to survive long enough to have.